hello. If you are watching the first few seconds of this video, you are definitely watching the replay. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the replay. And I just want to remind you that if you comment, I can still see it long after the video is over. So if you're watching the replay and you have questions or thoughts that you want to share, definitely feel free to comment them below. Let me know, actually, if you are watching the replay, because I want to know how many people are alive versus replay viewers. I know we're going to have a lot more replay, but just say replay if you are watching the replay. Okay, so we're going to jump right in today. Today's day one of the Leader Life Masterclass, where you're going to learn how to, most of you, unless you've already been led or coached by me or a similar leader, you're going to massively scale back the time that you spend on your business. We're going to get organized. We're going to develop strategies which enable you to massively grow your business without massively working on your business. We're going to work smarter instead of harder. So we're going to dive on in. Today's day one. So we're going to start by just imagine this for a moment. Okay, I need you to imagine this scenario. Close your eyes if you want to. It's fine. I can't see you. Imagine that you wake up in the morning. Okay, you go out to the kitchen. You're not stressed. You're not rushing. You go out to the kitchen, you make breakfast, you eat breakfast with your kids. There's no rush, okay? You finish, you clean up. Maybe after that you go for a walk or a bike ride or to the pond to feed the ducks. You do all of this before you even check your phone. Maybe you haven't even touched your phone. Maybe like you hit your alarm and that's it. You're not even looking at your phone throughout all of this. There's no messages to answer. There's no fires to put out. There's no like emergency you have to interact on social media or coach a host or anything like that, okay? You haven't even looked at your phone. You come back, okay? We're still, close your eyes and imagine. You come back from your walk or bike ride or duck feeding, whatever, and you sit down to get a little bit of work done at your desk. You handle a few daily tasks for your personal business, and then you check your team stats and you see that your team is currently on track to sell more than they did last month. Amazing feeling, right? That's always exciting. All your new teammates are hitting the ground running. You have a handful of messages celebrating wins from leaders and salespeople within your team. Everyone is hitting their mid-month goals. Amazing, right? You have a meeting later with a few of your top sellers because they are hungry to build teams. You already know exactly what you're going to say to them, and you know that the advice you give them is going to work. So no stress on preparing for that meeting. You go into it confident and ready to equip them. You set your phone down, take a sip of your coffee, which is hot, by the way, not because you microwaved it for the 50th time that morning, but because it is actually fresh and you're enjoying hot, fresh coffee. And you watch your kids play outside through the window. By the way, I am absolutely using notes. Otherwise, I will get very off track. I have squirrel brain real bad. Okay, so we're still imagining, right? You're enjoying your hot coffee. You realize that that new Dogman movie is out, which your kids have been raving about, and you think, I should take them to see it later after my meeting today. We have time, why not? So you pick your phone up once more just to buy tickets for Dogman, and then you set it back on your desk where it will remain for hours while you go enjoy your life and be present. All right? Oh, by the way, I didn't introduce myself. Most of you know me because you've been here a while, but we do have some new people. So for those of you who are new, or maybe your friends shared this with you and you're checking me out for the first time, my name's Lauren Granato. I've been a top leader in the direct sales industry, like top sliver of a percentage for team size and efficiency and income, all those fun things. And I have about 10 years of experience in direct sales alone. I've been a leader in multiple companies. I've been a top seller and recruiter in multiple companies. But I have almost 20 years experience of running businesses, whether it's my own or someone else's, managing sales teams, and coaching direct sellers and leaders. So if you're on here and you're like, who is this girl? Why should I listen to her? I'm teaching you how to do the things that I've done. So it's maybe worth listening to. All right. So, by the way, I also have my psychology degree and I'm a homeschool mom, and I am I love digging into business metrics and figuring out what tiny shifts to make to result in massive results, right? So as you can probably imagine, anytime that I can kind of combine those three things, it really lights my brain up. So learning about, oh, sorry, the dogs like to bark at the cat when the cat jumps up the stairs. I don't know if you guys could hear that. So sales and leadership psychology and harnessing that in a way which can result in massive growth for businesses and then turning around and teaching others how to do the same thing. I love it. So that's why I'm here teaching this for free. All right, so this masterclass, by the way, most of the time, well, every other day, every single other day of this masterclass, the videos are going to be about 10 minutes long. Today is going to be longer because of this little intro I'm giving you, and we're doing the intro plus day one all together in one video. So today's going to be a little bit longer. The masterclass lasts all week. There's going to be a video every single day. Today we're going to start with the foundation upon everything else will be built. All right. So, like I said, if you've already worked with me, this is probably going to be a review for you. But there's a lot of new people, and I want to make sure that I'm giving them the good stuff and getting them started with the most important pieces. So today we're going to be focusing on time management. And I know that is not the sexiest topic, but bear with me because some of the nuggets I give you today might be things that change your life when you implement them. All right, so we're going to start with an exercise. I want you to write down, scrap paper, type it in the notes on your phone, whatever, how many hours you worked on your personal business last month in January. So this is excluding any leadership activities, okay? So this is not training your team, not managing your team space, not answering messages from your teammates. This is only your personal business, all right? I want to know, and if you feel free to put it in the comments, because I would love to see where you guys are at. All right, if you're watching the replay, follow along too. Put some numbers in the comments because I want to see the most amount of information that I can, because that is what's going to help me make sure that I'm providing the best tools and advice to you guys for the rest of this masterclass. All right, so hours worked total on your personal business in January. Now we're going to write down and share how many hours total you worked last month on leadership tasks. So this is now not building your personal business, but helping your team succeed. Okay, any leadership tasks. How many hours total did you work on that last month? And for me, it's easier to think like how many hours do I spend on those tasks per week, and then just multiply that by 4. Because it's probably going to be the same week to week, right? Okay, now we're going to add those together. All right? By the way, if you are spending more time on your team than you are on your personal business, that is an indicator of why you might be having some problems that you're having. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but just stick with me. Okay, we're going to dive deeper into that tomorrow, but there's a little hint for you, a little foreshadowing. All right, so total hours. Now you're going to write down how much you made in income last month. You're going to take that number. So let's say it's $3,000. You're entry to mid-level leader. If you're an entry-level leader and you're making $3,000, you're doing all right. You're doing pretty good. So let's say you made $3,000 a month. You're going to divide that number by how many total hours you worked. So let's say that you worked 15 hours a week last month on your business because you're squeezing in time between taking care of your kids and cooking and cleaning and all of the things, okay? Let's say you worked 15 hours a week on your business, even though it might not feel like you got a lot done. 3,000 and 15 hours a week ends up being 60 hours for the month, right? $3,000 divided by 60 hours for the month, that means that you averaged $50 per hour. That's your hourly pay. $50 per hour. Now, that's not bad, okay? There are a lot of people out in the world who would love to be making $50 an hour. So, that's good, but let's see how you could make it even better, because really that's the whole point of this industry, right? Now let's say instead of working 15 hours a week because you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to do all the trainings and answer all the messages and work your personal business, let's say you get really strategic and really disciplined and you only work 7.5 hours per week. You're able to cut that in half. Your team's still doing the same thing. You're still just as productive in your personal business and as a leader. So you still made $3,000, but you only worked 30 hours total for the month. Now 3,000 divided by 30 is $100 an hour. So your hourly pay, the amount of money that your time is worth, the value of your time went from $50 an hour to $100 an hour. Here's the interesting thing about figuring out your hourly pay. Calculating this is not going to automatically make you make more money, right? There's action steps that you have to follow past that, but scaling back your amount of time that you spend on work, whether it's cutting it from 10 hours a week to 5 hours a week or 15 hours a week to 7.5 hours a week, scaling it back increases, like that's not going to inherently make you more money, but that will increase the value of each hour of your time. And then it enables you to figure out how to make more money. So let's say Sally, like we'll use the $3,000 income as an example for Sally. She worked 15 hours a week, so she made $50 per hour. Sally figures out how to manage her time, only do the tasks that are necessary, only do the tasks that are actually producing income for her, and really hone in on the small, simple strategies that her team needs in order to grow and sell more. She's not doing any of the fluff. She's not constantly available. She's not trying to squeeze in work in between everything else in her life. So because of all of that, that's helping her be more efficient, now she is able to work 7.5 hours per week and still make $3,000. Let's say Sally decides she wants to work 15 hours per week. She has the time and she loves doing what she does. So then she becomes real efficient, right? And then she decides, I'm going to keep repeating these super efficient tasks that produce income for me, and I'm going to work 15 hours a week. Now instead of making $3,000, she's going to make $6,000. Do you guys see how that works? It's crazy, right? Okay. So here's the other thing I want you to think about. Your time is valuable. Your time has value. So not only because you could be doing other things rather than being constantly available to your team and answering messages all day, or constantly posting on social media and trying to get your algorithm up all day, you could be doing something else. And spacing out your work all like that throughout the day, it's not efficient. You're not getting more things done. You just feel like you're working all day long when really you're not getting a whole lot done because there's no strategy behind it. One of the biggest things, we're also going to talk about delegation. A lot of this tasks that you're doing could be delegated, and one of the biggest things I see leaders not delegating, which they should be, is making graphics. Because they think that they need special branded graphics for their team and that everything has to be special and original and unique, and that they have to have their own things and their team has to have their own things, especially when you have a team of like 100 people. Your upline likely has these resources available for you and you're not using them because you think everything has to be special. You're wasting your time because absolutely nobody cares if you have your team branding on graphics or if you made the graphics or not. So graphic making, now think back, whether your time is worth $50 an hour or $100 an hour, is that a wise use of your valuable time to sit and make graphics? Would you pay somebody else $100 per hour to make graphics on Canva for you? No, of course you wouldn't. That's insane. So why are you spending an hour in which you could generate $100 and you're spending basically $100 of your time to make graphics? It's the same as paying someone else $100 to do that simple task. So now the next exercise, I want you to take a piece of paper and draw a line right down the middle of it. On one side at the top, you're going to write personal business tasks. And on the other side, you're going to write leadership tasks. Now, I want you to think of all the things you can, and you're not going to think of all of them while watching this video, so you probably will need to come back to it when we're done, but write down all of the tasks that you need to do every single week on your personal business. And then same with the other side, write down all the tasks that you need to do every single week to run your team, to support them, to make sure they have everything they need. Some personal business tasks, just to get your brain jogging, would be creating social media content, follow-ups, branding. If you're in party plan, hostess coaching, doing the parties. If you would create inventory, then obviously updating your inventory, sending invoices, shipping, packing things, doing reach outs, maybe do vendor events, creating graphics is on there. And then just some ideas for the leadership task side would be doing team trainings, coaching calls, checking in on your team. If you have your own team space, which if you're entry to mid-level leader, you absolutely should not have your own team group. Again, huge waste of time. But a lot of you guys do it. So adminning your team space, making graphics for your team, doing recognition, evaluating the business. This is one, again, that we're going to dive into later this week, but this is a task which actually I'd be surprised if anyone could tell me in a comment what that means, evaluating the business, digging into your metrics. This is something that every single leader, every single direct seller, even if they're not a leader, should be doing, but like 99.9% are not, because they've never been taught. It's never occurred to them. And so as a result, there's a lack of strategy behind what you're training your team on, the incentives you offer, what you're even focusing on in your personal business, and then responding to messages from your team. Okay, so like I said, you're probably not going to figure out every single task right now off the top of your head. You might need to come back to that, and even like come back to it throughout the week as you're doing things, and you're like, you find yourself doing something, right? And you're like, oh, I'm doing a task right now that I didn't put on my chart. I'm going to go write it down real quick. Okay, so like I said about the graphics, a lot of leaders I see are, and even direct sellers in general, are doing tasks that should be delegated or outsourced. Now, for leaders, there are some massive benefits to delegation, and it's not just that you're taking something off of your plate and saving yourself time. It actually serves your team more when you delegate to them. Now, of course, they need to be willing and happy to help and accept the delegation, but when you pass on tasks to your team in a strategic way, of course, it allows people to shine in their own expertise, what they're good at. It includes more teammates in what's going on, and it builds a sense of community, because let's say that Sally sells $500 a month, and that's all she wants to do. She's made it clear she does not want to sell more. She does not want to recruit. She does not want to build a team. She just loves setting up her little booth once a month at her local vendor craft show thing, whatever your product is. And she sells $500, and that's what she wants to do, and that's it, and that makes her happy. Let's say that she also loves making graphics, and she can do it pretty well, and she's quick at it, so it's not a waste of time for her. Even if you can do a better job, it doesn't matter. Sally doesn't need to be a top seller or a top recruiter or a leader on your team in order to have value and to help everyone on the team. So that's where I'm saying, like, you're building that sense of community, and you're also, this is a way of you reinforcing that those people on your team who are great at specific tasks or really enjoy specific tasks that you can delegate to them, it's reinforcing that they have value for your team, even if they're not one of your rockstar top sellers or team builders. And then, of course, like delegating trainings. When you find somebody who is great at follow-ups, again, doesn't have to be a top seller or team builder. They could be really good at follow-ups. They could just be really consistent. Ask them to give a training on the power of consistency, or on the language they use during follow-ups, or if they have a system that they use, because this serves the rest of your team. Even if you could do the same training, all right, it serves the rest of your team, and it builds a sense of community, and it helps reinforce that that person who you're asking to go train, that you value them, that they're an important part of the team. Okay, so next exercise. If you don't have a calendar, then you'll want to take notes for this and do it later. But if you do have a paper calendar or a planner, great, whip it out right now. You'll also want a couple different colors of highlighters or pens. I prefer to write in different colors and color code what I'm doing. So the whole point of network marketing and direct sales is so that we can build a business to serve the life that we want, right? If we just wanted to make money, we'd go get full-time jobs. But the whole point is the time freedom. We all want that time freedom. So hopefully on your calendar, you already have your existing commitments, birthday parties, appointments, the appointment for that massage that you booked. I also want you to include things like going to the gym or date night. Whatever your hobbies are, those are previous commitments, and you need to schedule them in to make sure that you actually have time to do them. Next, if you are in party plan, you're going to circle the 1 to 2 days per week which you will be doing parties. If you're not in party plan, if you are just marketing on social media, then you would circle the days where you're going to focus on content creation. Okay? You're going to then go back to the chart of tasks that we made for personal business and for leadership tasks. You're going to circle the things after now, like using your delegation filter, okay? You're going to look at what are the tasks that only you can do, that you can't pass off to somebody else. So like follow-ups, only you can do follow-ups with your customers and potential new teammates. Like you can't delegate that. That would be really weird, right? Only you can do coaching calls for your team, other than, you know, another upline leader of yours or a leader within your team coaching their own people, obviously. But you can't outsource things like that. So circle the things that cannot be outsourced. You're going to take your calendar, you're going to schedule in those tasks into specific time slots. So now, when I say specific time slots, I don't mean I'm going to do follow-ups on Friday. I mean, on Friday from 3 to 3:30, I will be doing follow-up messages. I will be sending follow-up messages for people who ordered last week, people who ordered last month, potential new hosts, potential new teammates. And then when that time block comes around, you're not going to get distracted. You're going to sit down. You're going to set a timer. This is key. You're going to set a timer so that you don't lose track of time or get distracted. And the only thing that you are going to do during that time block is the task that it is blocked for. So in this case, follow-ups. I loved also doing the timer method because it's kind of a challenge. I would sit there and be like, oh, how many follow-up messages can I send in 30 minutes? And I would like challenge myself to see how many I could get through. Now, here's the thing. You're going to sit down, you're going to send the appropriate messages depending on what you're following up for, and you're not going to open the responses. You don't need to respond right away. You send as many messages as you possibly can. And I have some tricks on how to get a lot of responses, by the way, which is a topic for another day. But best trick that I can tell you is make sure that that message or text or email, whatever you're sending, ends with a question mark. Not a, how are you liking your blah, blah, blah that you purchased? Let me know. That doesn't end with a question mark. That ends with a let me know. Leave it with the question mark. That's it. Don't say anything else after the question. Okay, like you can say things before it, don't say anything else after it. That increases your rate of response by like 75%, maybe 100. I've never tracked the exact percentage, but it is a lot. Okay, so you're going to figure out which tasks you have to do that can't be delegated. You're going to block the time on your calendar. You're going to set a timer and make sure that you are only doing those tasks and not getting distracted by answering messages from teammates or scrolling social media or watching the TV and then sending a message and then watching the TV and then answering the message, right? We're going to focus, laser focus, only on what we're supposed to be doing. That also means that if you, by the way, all these time blocks that you have, these are considered your office hours. If you are not currently implementing office hours, which means these are the only times that you're going to work and the only times you're going to be available to customers and to your team, if you're not implementing office hours, that right there is 90% of your problem. I actually have a funny story. I have been fortunate enough to have leaders and mentors who are they have very healthy boundaries. and they implement office hours, and they've always communicated their office hours to our team. So when we would text them with a question, we first of all, we rarely needed to because we knew where to find all the things that we needed to know ourselves. But when we did have a question and we'd text them and they didn't answer right away, it wasn't like, oh my God, why are they answering? We knew they're not working at that moment. They'll get to us when they can. They're out enjoying their life, just like they want us to be doing. Um, so funny story, like I've like grown up in the direct sales industry with that being the norm for me, right? Most people do not. Most people grow up in the direct sales industry having constant access to information and feeling like they have to constantly respond to customers and teammates and uplines. Like you feel like, oh, I got this text, I'm just going to answer real quick. But then that lends back to the feeling of feeling like you're always working and not really getting anything done and not being efficient. Like you're not accomplishing anything by doing that. So I was at Costco one day with my cousin, and she's in a network marketing company. And I don't know any of the people she works with. I don't know her upline. I don't know anyone on her team. Like we rarely ever even see one another. So, but we're at Costco and we're in the middle of a conversation, and she's literally mid sentence, and we're like walking through the parking lot, and her phone starts buzzing, and she's like, "Oh, this is something for work. I should probably take this." So I'm thinking like, okay, it's something important. It's information she was waiting on, or maybe she has a call scheduled or something, right? It'll be quick. Like, we're going to Costco and it's super crowded, it's loud. She answers the phone and is on the phone for like 25 minutes. And you could tell she did not want to be on the phone call. It was not a scheduled call. It was literally her upline calling to tell her to check on her, to ask how all her prospects are. Not scheduled. Her upline just decided now's the time to call and check. So she's on the phone and the whole conversation is completely one-sided. I can hear on the other end her upline asking, well, did you follow up with so-and-so? Did you do this? Did you do that? And she's just like, yep, she said da 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 da. Yes. No, I haven't gotten a response. Yes, like, and I was just like horrified that her leader just did that. Because I could not in a million years imagine calling up someone on my team and being like, hey, did you do your work today? So, like, just if you're a leader and you're doing that, you're just randomly calling up your team in the middle of the day, unscheduled, with no boundaries, with no, like, hey, I would love to chat with you about XYZ. When are you available next? Like, there was no planning. There was no, like, nothing, not even a strategy behind it. Literally just, hey, did you do your work today? Did you talk to these people? What did they say? So don't do that. If you're a direct sales network marketing leader, please don't do that, because you're going to drive your people away. You're going to make them not want to work, and you're definitely going to make them not want to be a leader because they don't want to do that to other people. So office hours. Like I said, it's important. Again, just like the delegation thing, it's important not only because it helps manage your time and helps you be more efficient and more strategic and have healthy boundaries, but it also serves your team better. It empowers you to be the leader that they want to be. Your team is going to look at you with your healthy boundaries and your actual time freedom and not just fake posts on social media about having time freedom. And they're going to think, I could do that. I could totally do that. She didn't take my call because she's at the trampoline park with her kids. Oh my God, that's okay. I could do that. I don't have to be available all the time. All right, I could build a team. They're going to see that and they're going to respect you more, and they're going to also want to be you. They'll want to choose leadership, and then your team's going to grow a lot faster. All right. I know, like I said, today's much longer because we had the little intro at the beginning, but we're almost done. Okay, so if you're thinking there's no way I can get everything done in just a couple hours per day, you can. You absolutely can, because I've done it, and hundreds of other women with kids, stay-at-home moms with little kids that they have to take care of all day, homeschool moms. If we can do it, then you can do it. People with full-time jobs, they've done it. You can do it. It's just a matter of being really disciplined and strategic with your time and eliminating all the fluff. Eliminating the stuff that you could delegate, eliminating the stuff that is not income producing, and focusing on the income producing activities. If you're thinking, but I usually just squeeze in tasks between other things throughout my day. And how is that working for you? That's what I would ask you. How is that working for you? Is it working well for you? Because we're now 30 minutes into this live, and if you're still watching this, there is something that is not working well for you, and that's why you're here. So I would challenge you to try doing it the way that I just laid out for you and see what changes. Try it for 1 month. And if it doesn't work, then okay, go back to the old way that you were doing things. If you're thinking, but what if my team needs me, right? Like if you're not answering messages right away, if it's 24 hours before they get a response, what if they need me? What if they think I'm ignoring them? What if, like, how are they going to stay motivated if I'm not constantly in front of them, training them and motivating them and talking to them and checking on them? How will they know that I care? There's not a single scenario in this world where they immediately need your help or immediately need an answer. Again, this comes back to they're watching you as what's normal for a leader. And if you're modeling behaviors that are leading to burnout and exhaustion and feeling like you're working all the time, they don't want to be you. If they see you always available, they don't want that. They don't want to be you. But if you are modeling healthy boundaries and you're empowering them to go find answers rather than constantly need you to give them the answers in texts, then you're modeling something that they could do. They could see themselves in that role in the future. And that's a huge motivator for them to go recruit and build a team. One more funny story. A few friends and I, we have this thing called the 24-hour rule where, people will message us and ask a question, whether it's a downline or like sideline leaders or, whatever, asking like, hey, what do I say? This person I'm trying to recruit said this. What do I say back? Or I need to find the training on blah, blah, blah. Where do I find it? Okay. First of all, for a normal any person, you should not be responding to those questions immediately. You should be giving them a few hours, because if you come back to those questions at the end of the day, almost every single time, that person has then come back and said, never mind, I found it. They're fully capable of finding things on their own. They just want to be handed the answers, or they just want your attention. Either way, it's not okay, and it's not them respecting your boundaries. So, first of all, don't answer immediately. But there are some people who are like chronic attention seekers, right? Like we all have known people like that, and they'll message and they get put on the 24-hour list. The 24-hour rule applies to them, where they don't get a response until 24 hours have passed. Because sometimes those type of people will ask you, where's the training for blah, blah, blah? I'm trying to book parties, but I don't know what to say. Hey, is there a way to blah, 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 blah? And like you'll have like 3 questions over the span of 24 hours, and they're not the type of people who are going to go find the solutions, because they don't actually want solutions. They just want your time and attention. So you give them 24 hours before you respond, and then you respond and you say, hey, did you figure it out? And if they say no, then you tell them where to go find the information. You don't give them the actual answers. You empower them to go become solution oriented, and you're also then reinforcing that boundary that you're not available all the time and you're not their personal Google. All right, so that's it for today. Again, I know if you've been following me or trained by me before, this is review, but I wanted to make sure everyone's starting with what they need, because if we skip this part, then there's going to be a lot of people missing this crucial piece. So if you've been with me for a while, then I want you to drop in the comments. I want you to say, if you've implemented these strategies, I want you to tell me how they changed your business or changed your life, how those little shifts have impacted you in general, the time you have in the day, how your business is working, how your team is working. I want to hear that. If you have not implemented these strategies and this is all new to you, I want to hear what is something you learned today. Leave a comment and tell me what's something you learned today, or maybe like a mindset shift that that this has kind of like led you to have. I will be back tomorrow, the same time, 10 a.m. We are going to talk more about how I mentioned your time spent on your personal business should actually be more than the time spent leading your team at this level. And we're going to dive more into that tomorrow and explain the why and the effects that it'll have on your team as a result. So thank you so much for being here today for day one. I'm so excited. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain.